You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Welcome back to the Interactive Interview. We're joined here with a true legend of the ring, the genius, Lanny Poffo. How you doing, sir?
Very well. Thank you very much.
It's great to have you on the program. The first question we have for you, we go in a kind of a chronological order, is you come from a wrestling family. Everybody knows this. What was it like growing up in such a environment?
Well, people ask me that all the time. I wouldn't know it any other way. I was the youngest of the family, so it was all established before I got there. So I thought it would be odd to have a father that wasn't a wrestler and a brother that wasn't a Type A personality, like the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Yeah. So anyway, it was it's an excellent family. They've been married, going to be 56 years in June. You should have heard the 50th anniversary poem I made for them. Can I do it?
Sure. Fire away.
Okay, it's got a couple of, let's see. Today in 1949, my parents made a vow, and I think it's amazing they're still together now. Mixed marriages by nature never seem to get on track. You know my mother's Jewish. You know my dad is black. But he passes for Italian, and we keep his secret well. So Angelo and Judy could spend 50 years in hell. But I, for one, am grateful that my brother feels the same. We're glad from where we come from. We're proud from whence we came. We love our parents very much. We're glad that we were born, though others wish in retrospect 2 condoms had been worn. But I insist we've had the best, so pour a glass of wine and let's get drunk to June the 5th, 1949. And on April 10th, my father turned 80.
Wow, yeah.
Angelo Poffo.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's, I don't know if you say congratulations to such an occasion, but...
Yeah, you do. Yeah, just to keep your pulse for that long, that's great.
Early in your career, you found, I read an interview that you did, and you seemed to be trying to find your own identity. And the identity that you did find was from Ricky Starr, pushing the, and I don't know how I should phrase this, but the homosexual button a little bit. How should I ask this except to say, how do you feel the fans at that time, were they ready for that character?
The fans always liked it. It was the wrestlers and the promoters that didn't like it. You know, it's like, it was cheap heat. You know, it's called how to get over without actually doing anything. For walking and talking without actual physical contact. You know, I just listen to the people, and they're laughing so hard, and they're enjoying it so much. And of course, even the children, they're pointing and laughing. What they're really doing is pointing at themselves and saying, "Hey, I'm normal." That's ridicule. They justify their own existence by ridiculing someone else's.
Yes.
So I took advantage of that psychology, and you know, when some of the promoters didn't like it, I put it away until I became the genius, so it was dormant for many, many years.
We just recently had Terry Funk on the show, and I know you're a big fan of his work. What are your memories of working with Terry?
Well, he raised me to his level. See, if I'm a 5 and he's a 10, he made me a 10 for the evening. Problem is, if I wrestled a 1, I became a 1. See, I didn't have the ability to work with a broom like he did. You know, but I'm a very good listener, and he actually brought me up. I wrestled him, my first time I wrestled him, he loved my Ricky Starr gimmick. And when in Amarillo, Texas, I used it quite extensively, and I was about 20 years old then. And what he did was he gimmicked my Dan-skin tights, and in the Amarillo, Texas TV studios, he stripped me naked on television. And, you know, I was like 19 or 20 years old, and I was instantly the laughingstock of wrestling, which made me very happy. That's all I've ever wanted to be.
In the late 70s and early 80s, you teamed with your brother in the Memphis Mid-South type area. You guys teamed up, and you also faced each other in an empty arena with Jerry Lawler as a referee. How did you enjoy working with Randy, and is it different being in the ring with your flesh and blood than it is being in there with just any other random opponent?
Okay, the incident to which you are referring was Bill Apter got to the Mid-South Coliseum. Jerry Lawler was there, Randy was there, and they had an idea that we would have a match with an empty arena.
Mm-hmm.
Those photographs were all posed. Okay, we did not wrestle.
You didn't actually wrestle?
No. Okay.
Wow.
Yes, Virginia, there is no Santa Claus. We just did we did what you call cheap theatrical tricks. I'm not responsible. It was not my idea. But it would have been absolutely stupid and ridiculous to wrestle in front of no people.
Right, absolutely. Especially if you didn't tape it. Or...
Yeah, nothing was. We just took pictures of us wrestling and used it as what kind of interest it could generate.
So you guys never wrestled one-on-one then?
Oh, we wrestled many, many times, especially when we had our own promotion in the Maritimes.
Yes.
And we had our own promotion in International Championship Wrestling. And Macho Man is also a ring general, and he always made me look good. So, you know, if I could have wrestled Terry Funk, Macho Man, and Harley Race every match, nobody would have ever known that I wasn't a great worker.
Do you not believe that you were a great worker?
I'm not a great worker. I'm definitely not. The only thing I'm great at is what I'm doing right now. Leveling with people and interviews. Interviews, I don't think there was too many people better than me. Courtesy of KO was better than me. But very few people in that league. But as far as when the bell rang, no, I relied on my partner or my opponent to make me look good. And, you know, it's no big disgrace. I'm 50 years old. Some of the people that were better workers than I was are no longer alive. So what I'm really good at is I drive the speed limit. I was able to, I don't say I've never had it. I have actually never had an accident. I have caused a few. And I was the guy they invented the finger for. Very annoying driver.
You eventually made it to the WWF as Leaping Lanny Poffo. This is kind of a rude question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and this is kind of the questions that I got emailed to me, and it's the most common one. Were you ever jealous of your brother, the brother getting this push that he got when you were there?
Well, I get asked that question quite a bit, and may I say that was very rude, and never mind, I'm just joking. No, here's the deal. Okay, how do I explain this? In the game of life, you can take the happy bus or you can take the jealous bus. If you take the jealous bus, you can never be happy. So let's all take the happy bus. Enjoy your life and don't compare yourself to other people. See, that's a good lesson for people in the locker room, in the shower area. Don't compare yourself to other people. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time, you know. In other words, I'm happy that I'm proud of my individuality, and I have absolutely no reason to be jealous of anybody. I've got my health, and I'm a very, very happy person because I choose to be happy, and I choose to be healthy, and I choose to be grateful. In other words, why should I be jealous of the push that Randy got when there are workers that are better than me that never got to the World Wrestling Federation or World Wrestling Entertainment simply because they didn't know the phone number and because they remained undiscovered? You know, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of injustices in the world. And wrestling is not a 100-yard dash where the best man always wins.
Right.
Wrestling is a matter of opinion, and the best man seldom wins.
Right.
But anyway, ask me how I got to the World Wrestling Federation in the first place.
How was that?
Well, Vince McMahon saw a video of, Dr. D. David Schultz had said some bad derogatory things against Hulk Hogan. And while he was in Memphis, so, and he was teamed with my brother at the time, and in Memphis TV, so he got a hold of the tape to see what Dr. D. David Schultz had said against Hulk Hogan, and in the meantime, he sees the Macho Man jumping in and out of the ring, and he says, wow, this guy's fantastic. So then when they were signing him up, he says, is there any room for my brother? And he said, well, George Scott says, well, we have no room on top. He says, how about in the middle? In the middle, we've got nothing but, nothing but room there. So he says, is he heel or babyface? Are you a heel or babyface? And I said, I'm a babyface. So I would have gone in there just to bring the jackets back because I believe water seeks its own level. And besides, while George Scott was the booker, I was getting a major push. Not the greatest push in the world, but for 6 months I was doing very well. When George Scott relinquished his duties and gave it all to Pat Patterson, that's when I did jobs for about 4 or 5 years in a row, until finally they made me the genius, and I wrestled Hulk Hogan on NBC.
Yes, sir.
So if my career was, if 21 years in wrestling were to boil down to that one event, I'd say it's all been worth it. Besides, I got on the Regis Philbin show.
Yeah, I remember that. I actually do remember that. I was young, but I remember it.
Yes, I'm still young. I was 35. It was January 15th, 1990, but I don't remember it. Okay. Being sarcastic.
Okay.
Go on.
I got you. Don't worry, I'm not that dense.
But you were being rude.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, what was your next question?
The question I have for you was, one of my fondest memories as a child was watching, as I said, Tuesday Night Titans. And, of course, that was more of a Johnny Carson-style interview show. And I remember you came out and you cut the promo and you did the poem. I don't know why it is, but for some reason, whenever somebody reads poetry, that seems to me to make them a bad guy, especially in the eyes of a child until you grow up. Did you know that the crowd was going to eventually dislike that angle, dislike your poetry?
Well, actually, that's why I started using the Frisbees, because I figured that it would have a negative effect unless they had free Frisbees. But when you throw Frisbees out to the audience, you create a false sense of they love you. You know, it's, hey, free Frisbees, you know?
Hey, they're giving me something for nothing. Right?
Yes, there you go. And I stole that from the late Al Costello, who used to throw out the boomerangs.
Yeah.
And my brother and I used to scamper for those things when we were very, very young. You know, and we used to poke people's eyes out to get them. But, yeah, it's, when I did the poem, see, the thing is, you don't have to worry about heel or babyface, just be unique. And I was just trying to do something to call attention to myself. And besides, I've been interested in poetry, literature, and fine arts for many years. So why not bring it to the forefront?
Right. Absolutely. And, of course, that also spawned into, in some fashion, the genius character. How did the genius character come to be?
Well, Vince McMahon's idea, and he asked me if I could, I said, well, what do I have to do? He says, just write, I don't know, just write evil poems and see if you can get heat. Do you think you can? And what he didn't know was I was about to show the people my feminine side. And that's how I was going to get the heat. But I would go into places like Boston and knock the Red Sox and the Bruins and the Celtics and everybody. You know, and every locale I went to, I just knocked their sports teams.
Right.
That was enough to get beer thrown on you.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah, it's very easy to, you know, that's called, I believe in cheap heat. You know, I don't want to earn it. I want to just get it.
Right. Right. A lot of people knock cheap heat, though. I don't know. I think as long as the crowd reacts, I think that's all that really matters.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me what the majority feels. The only thing that counts is what the bank teller counts.
They quickly pitted you with Curt Hennig, the Mr. Perfect, of course. Why? I mean, I always wondered why. What was the connection between you two?
I have no idea. They just put us together. I never asked why.
Oh, okay. Of course, you mentioned it. You wrestled Hulk Hogan, NBC, Saturday Night's Main Event, and you actually won by countout. We had Nikolai Volkoff on the show about 3 weeks ago, and asked him a very similar question because he too wrestled Hulk Hogan on a Saturday Night's Main Event, and his exact response was Hulk Hogan killed the business. Now, I'm a big Hogan mark. I'll be flat out and honest with you about that, but I'll ask you your honest opinion. How did you enjoy working with Hulk?
Nikolai Volkoff said that Hulk Hogan killed the business?
Yes, he did.
First of all, the business is not dead. Okay?
Right.
So right away, the first part of the statement is ridiculous, okay?
Right.
Secondly, since this is all a matter of opinion, do you mind if I give mine?
Fire away.
I think Hulk Hogan, first of all, I don't like to knock success. That would make me a failure. I believe that Hulk Hogan was excellent, fantastic, and great. And it never ceases to amaze me that a bunch of old men who should have grown up by now can't think of anything to do but not greatness.
Right.
In other words, they're bitter, they're stewing in their own juices. Nikolai Volkoff is very, very lucky to have had the break that he got. I love Nikolai. He's a nice man.
Right.
He's an excellent person. I have nothing against him. But how can he bite the hand that feeds him like that? If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, none of us would have made the money we made.
Right.
And you need somebody at the top. But if there's a person at the top, you can bet there's 20 people around hoping he dies.
Right.
Because that's human nature. That's jealousy. See, the Macho Man, I would have never gotten to the heights that I rose to if I had not been the brother of the Macho Man.
Mm-hmm.
But Nikolai Volkoff, he had a good gimmick. He was teamed with the Iron Sheik, and you have to admit, even though he's Yugoslavian, he did look Russian. And,
yeah.
Who could go against that? And the Iron Sheik, that was the most legitimate gimmick of all time.
Right. Absolutely.
The way nobody could do what he did.
Right.
And it's, but I tell you what, it's sad that people that should know better say terrible things about other wrestlers. Hulk Hogan is nothing but great for the business. He says, that's what killed the business. That sounds like something Bruno Sammartino would say.
Actually, Bruno did say it to us about a year and a half ago, yeah.
Well, see, here's the thing about Bruno. I'll tell you, Bruno. He always knocks the wrestlers today and the wrestling today.
Right.
Well, if he thinks he can do better, why doesn't he start promoting? Actually, he did start promoting with Dominic Granucci. And what happened to their promotion?
Didn't make it.
Flat. And guess why? Because it's not easy to promote.
No.
How about you and me? We know so much. Let's get together, let's get our money together, and we'll make a tape, employ some wrestlers, and show them what wrestling really should be. Well, guess why? It's difficult. We did it for my family did it for 6 years in the ICW.
Right.
We were up and down the road. That's why I know for a fact that Vince McMahon is an excellent promoter, because I was a mediocre promoter, or less than that. You see what I mean?
Right.
Yes, but what can you? It's amazing that as old as they are, they haven't grown up at all. Well, Bruno Sammartino must be the unhappiest millionaire in the world.
Yeah.
He's not. They wanted him to go in the Hall of Fame and he refused. Let him stay mad.
Well, that's going to be interesting when they have Hogan and Volkoff in the same Hall of Fame class. I mean, I've always thought to myself, if Hogan ever got wind of what Volkoff said, there could be something. But I think Hogan's probably mature enough to realize, well, whatever.
Hogan knows that Nikolai's inconsequential. It's just that he really said that, and I can't believe it. Yes, I can believe it. That's what's sad. Here, the reason I can't believe it is because I've been out of the business since 1994.
Yes.
And I'm a certified credit counselor,
mm-hmm.
and I also do student loans.
Mm-hmm.
And I am the Terry Funk, Harley Race, Randy Macho Man Savage, Ric Flair of student loans and of debt consolidation. So I'm no longer interested. I don't need anybody to make a living.
Right.
In other words, or to make a fortune.
Right.
But I like to. People ask me if I miss the wrestling business. Yes, I do, but not that aspect of it. Not the aspect of if one person succeeds, they're surrounded by so much jealousy you can cut it with a knife. And of course, Vince McMahon is killing the business. Yeah, right. The reason that wrestling is what it is, blame the fans. They're the ones who send the Nielsen ratings up every time they see a boob.
Right, absolutely. That was the biggest complaint I had in the late 90s wrestling era, was how raunchy it did get, and how many people that I knew that had kids that were watching that just looked at me differently for being a wrestling fan after that. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, it's not me. I'm the one who watches WCW because they don't do that, but most people weren't. So
yeah, the fans are after immediate gratification, and everybody believes in God, and his name is Nielsen.
Wow.
So that's the reason wrestling is what it is. Blame the fans. And everybody says, I think you should go back to wrestling. If that were true, then why don't people buy tickets for the high school, college, and Olympic wrestling?
Good point.
See, there's plenty of wrestling if you want to see something. And those boys are toiling with no money, no glory, and no fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any action figures of amateur wrestlers in high school and college and, Olympic wrestlers.
Yes, sir.
There's wrestlers that are excellent and nobody knows their names, except for, of course, the amateur wrestlers that graduated to the professional ranks.
Right, like Curt Angle, for example.
Yeah, that's just one example, but there's
right.
many.
Right. You said you don't know why you and Curt Hennig were put together as a team, But RSBH123 is a member of our forums, would like to know why you guys were split apart.
We came to see these are done in meeting rooms that I'm not privy to.
Right.
All I do is get my orders and I follow them.
Right.
To the best of my ability.
Many of our guests, especially Hacksaw and a couple others, Marty Jannetty, have come on and shared some pretty funny stories about Curt Hennig's ribs. Do you have any memories of Curt's pranks?
Let's see. Yeah, there was this. Did Hacksaw tell you about the time in the WCW when he was underneath the ring with a television monitor and he's about to jump in the ring at a certain moment?
He did not. What happened?
Well, there was him and a few other people underneath the ring, and they were about to ambush somebody. But then he found the need to have a bowel evacuation, which he did, and it caused a lot of chaos for the other people that were underneath the ring. So they were all complaining about it, and he says, "Well, I guess my shit didn't get over." I thought that was typifying of a very great comedy wit.
Yeah, very clever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They also used to. There was a very popular thing of relieving their bowels in people's suitcases.
Yeah.
And many people were doing that. And I left the WWF, and when I came back, I had heard that this rib was going on. So what I did was I hid my suitcase so well that I lost it. I hid it very well. I was so afraid they would do that to me. I should have known nobody would have had the balls to do that with my brother being the Macho Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was intense, that's for sure.
Yeah. Talking about him like he's posthumous. He's still intense. That is for sure.
No, we had him on. He's intense, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Ultimately, he's a good guy, but I'll tell you what, I would not cross him.
Oh, I don't recommend it.
No, I wouldn't. Of course, you went from being more of a wrestler to a manager. You were managing Curt for a little while, but then again, you pretty much left the ring and became a manager almost full time with the Beverly Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Was this your decision to leave the ring, or was it just management?
Oh, just management. And then, a couple of times I did six-man tags and single matches, even while I was a manager. But, I don't like to question the authority of the booker.
Right.
I'll do what I'm told to the best of my ability, and that's the way I've always been. Got me pretty far in 21 years. My dad always told me that when he worked for Bruiser and Schneider, Bruiser used to say, "Don't think with my money." So,
what led to you deciding to leave the WWF?
Oh, I didn't decide to leave. They just they didn't renew me. I didn't. I was no longer in their plans, and it was time to go.
Right.
I mean, I had a 7-year run.
Right.
That was pretty great. So new wrestlers come in, old ones leave. It happens all the time. My phone doesn't ring that often. And right now I have nothing to offer than, fans don't want to see a 50-year-old man. They want to see young people.
Well, you did have a match recently against Adam Windsor at the Wrestle Reunion. How did you enjoy stepping in the ring with someone like that?
It was great. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I hadn't wrestled in about 5 years.
So I take it you're not like some of these other guys, like for example Nikolai, that just continues to work the indie events. You're just not interested in doing so?
No, they just asked me if I wanted to wrestle. I said no, and he said, "Well, how about for this much money?" And I said, "Okay."
Well, that's a good answer, right?
Yeah, and they just took me out of retirement. But the thing is, I didn't have any gear, so because I auctioned off everything I've owned to charities.
Wow.
And so I don't have anything. I wrestle barefoot and everything borrowed.
Interesting. I got a couple more questions for you, then we'll get to talk about your book. This is a question that's...
I can't wait, that.
Absolutely. I got an email here from a fan that said that they had always heard that you were going to be a member of the NWO, and there was even talk that you were under contract at WCW. Is there any truth to this?
Yes.
You were under contract. How long were you under contract for WCW?
About 4 years.
And they just kind of paid you to sit home?
Well, they kept... I bleached my hair blonde. I bought all these outfits to be Gorgeous George, and I kept waiting for the phone to ring. But they had too many chiefs and not enough Indians there, and they kept changing the plans. Next thing you know, I was the forgotten man, except the mail kept coming with checks, you know. So
right.
It's, I guess that's caused a lot of problems among the boys that are not too happy about. Let's put it this way: a lot of wrestlers, I'd say 99% of the wrestlers gave more than they got. You're talking to the 1% that took more than he gave.
Absolutely.
Why do you think they call me the genius, ultimately?
Well, I mean, that's impressive that they'd pay somebody for 4 years that they never even used. I mean, that just explains why the company's no longer in business, doesn't it?
That's right.
Right.
That's what explains it.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, the Macho Man was able to procure Slim Jim contract and brought it to the WCW with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so compared to the good that he did for the company, I was a slow, dripping faucet leak. So, but anyway, it was right after my divorce. The first year I survived, the second year I thrived, the third year I arrived, and now the fourth year, and every year after that, I don't have to mess with anyone.
You mentioned in another interview that you've always wanted to have your own action figure. With the WWE releasing these legendary figures and having guys that we've just had on like Hacksaw getting their own figure and such, can we ever expect to see a Genius action figure?
I doubt it, but it was always, you know, they sold so many Frisbees at the venues, I was kind of hoping they would, but they never did. But in the final analysis, I'm proud of what I'm just glad I got to do what I did. I decided I don't want to be the guy crying with 2 loaves of bread under each arm. There's no way to go through life.
Right.
You know, look at it this way. I'm 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hopefully got another 30 good years left, and I want to spend it not complaining and bitching about every little thing.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, I didn't get an action figure. You know, I'm just happy that I'm happy to be divorced. You know, I'm healthy, wealthy, and free. Why shouldn't I be happy?
Question I have for you now, of course, where you have a book out, Limericks from the Heart and Lungs. It's out now. It's tell us what brought about this project. What made you decide you wanted to write a book about smoking?
Well, I'm so proud of my daughter because her name is Megan Reese Poffo, and she is now going to be 21 May 29th. She is non-smoking, and that's one thing that my ex-wife and I can agree on and feel proud of, that we at least raised a child that is a non-smoker. And that puts us one ahead of O.J. Simpson, right?
At least a couple heads ahead. Yeah.
What's that?
At least a couple heads ahead.
A couple heads ahead, yes. Good one.
Okay.
Good one.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to be rude. Okay. Anyway, she went to Anona Elementary School, which is right near where I live in Largo, Florida. And when she was going to school, they always asked me to speak to the assembly, speak to the Positive Action Committee. Always spoke to the children, and I got really involved in Pinellas County, where I am still a registered speaker, and also in Hillsborough County. I'm always speaking to the schools. Well, I got involved in the smoke-free class of 2000, and then right around the year 2000, I said, well, that'd be a great idea for a book. Why don't I just expound on that? So I've spent the last 4 years in Microsoft Word, and finally I got a publisher, got 335 limericks together, and you know, it was nominated for a Newbery Award, which is the American Library Association picks one book every year for excellence in children's literature. And it didn't win, but just the nomination made me very, very proud.
Can we hear one of the limericks?
Oh, you know you can. Okay. It's a 3 smokers with nothing to do decided to go to the zoo. As they lit up to smoke, I heard one monkey joke. Hey, look, humans see, human do. A real estate mogul named Dave let cigarettes make him a slave. Location, and smoke inhalation has led to his premature grave. You know, they're in order of from can't read all the way up to college level. By college level, I mean some of the most intellectual ones in the book would be when Sheila earned her Ph.D. with her boyfriend of equal degree. Dissertations got tough, so they smoked off the cuff. How stupid can smart people be?
Wow.
So the thing is, if you go to Amazon.com,
absolutely,
Lanny Poffo on the left there, and click it in, you'll see both my books, Wrestling with Rhyme, Leaving Lanny Wrestling with Rhyme, which I released in 1988, and Limericks from the Heart and Lungs, which was released in October of '04. So I recommend that you get both.
I'll put links to both of those on the main page for you. Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah.
One more question.
By the way, also, if you want to order direct from the publisher, if you don't, it's 1-800-382-7922. That's White Bouquet Publishing, Lafayette, Colorado.
Excellent. Well, let's see what we have here for you. We have one more question by email, and then we have a couple word associations, if you're okay with those.
I'm okay.
Okay, the word association, no, not word associations. The question I have coming in, and I have no idea what he's talking about. I think I have an idea, but I'll just go ahead and ask you. How did you get to be a part of the Tony Little fitness video?
Well, I actually bought the product, and then I was spammed. They said they were making a video. If you have a good success story, reply to it. So I wrote a little poem, and although they didn't use the poem, they wanted to interview me. I used to pound the pavement. I ran around the track. I wasn't getting anywhere, and oh, my aching back. I bought a lot of videos and gadgets on TV. I got my money back on almost every guarantee. Now I've got my new Gazelle. I'm having so much fun. It's zero impact on my joints. I lost about a ton. To me, a ton was 20 pounds. As you can plainly see, I'm exercising everything except the guarantee.
Wow.
And then, so then they just interviewed me once, and then the next year they interviewed me again, and I've been very overexposed, jabroni.
Okay, we got a couple word associations. If that's okay with you. We only have about 4 or 5 of these here. So if you have a story, feel free to share it. If you just want to give a one-word answer, that's fine too.
Okay.
All right. The first is your dad, Angelo Poffo.
Oh yes. He was inducted into the Italian American Sports Hall of Fame, and here's the poem I made for him, if I can remember it.
Sure.
Io sono molto contento di essere qui, back home in Illinois, to honor those who lived the dreams of every girl and boy. 'Twas back in 1945 on Independence Day, the Nazis had surrendered. Japan was on its way. Let's see. My dad was in the Navy, as history will tell. As he was bleeding through the mat, a world record fell. He did 6,000 sit-ups with an extra 33 to glorify our Savior, who died for you and me. And Robert Ripley's feature celebrated this event. Giving credence to success is not an accident. That's always been his credo through times both good and bad. He's a real Hall of Famer and the world's greatest dad.
That's really good. How about somebody that I don't think you like too much based on another interview I read with you, Olli Anderson?
Yes. What would you like to...
Any opinions of him at all, or what comes to mind when you hear the name?
Well, let's see. He was just a guy with a big mouth and a small dick.
Oh, wow. That's a good answer.
And you know something? The great thing about it is, and please tell Olli, I guarantee, it's true that, we discussed how I made my money,
right,
and how I kept it and invested it and whatever. That's my business. But since I've shared it with you, he used to brag about he's got this and he's got that. I'm sure I'm doing better than he is. Which is excellent.
Absolutely. This is going to be a tough one, but I hope you have something for it. How about Miss Elizabeth?
Oh, yeah, she just broke my heart. As a matter of fact, Mr. Perfect and her, it was like within months of each other, wasn't it?
I think Curt was in February and she was in May. Yeah, it was pretty close.
Right. Anyway, I'm for clean living. And see, what I'm trying to do is the children, 3,000 children every single day in North America start smoking. I'm trying to make it 2,999. I can't do everything, but I appreciate the fact that you've given me a forum to try to save one person. That's what the book is about. The purpose of my book is to try to save one. I believe in health, wealth, and freedom. Now, somebody asked me when I did that shoot interview that you're referring to,
yes,
if Randy blamed Lex Luger for anything. Absolutely not. You know, when you're 21 years of age, you mean to tell me if I go to your house and I have vodka and somas, that it's your fault?
Right.
See what I mean? I go and look in the mirror. That's whose fault it is.
Right.
If you come to my house and you overload yourself, it's not my fault either. It's sad that people have nothing to do but make accusations like that. I love Elizabeth. She's a wonderful woman, and it's a terrible shame. I just hope that people listening will take it as advice. When you only weigh 90 pounds, maybe one soma is too many.
Right.
You know, if you weigh 400 pounds, maybe a whole bottle's not enough.
Right.
I don't do drugs. I don't know. But it's the volume of your body has to do, Andre the Giant, he drank and drank and drank and never got drunk.
Absolutely. I mean, Hogan tells that story every time. I mean, he loves telling that story.
Mm-hmm. But you get some midget out there, they're going to get drunk with a thimble. See?
Right.
It's just the way it is. The thing is, I don't smoke, drink, or do anything to hurt myself.
Right.
That doesn't mean I'm going to live another day, because some of these things we can't control.
Right.
Okay? But please, you know something? And let me say something good about Olli Anderson, okay?
Okay.
He doesn't smoke,
right,
and he doesn't drink, and he's pretty straight and narrow. I just don't like him. You see what I mean? But at least I like that about him.
Right.
We have that in common.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that share my values that I just don't like either, so, I mean, it's the same.
Yeah, but, I mean, let's not take everything away from the man.
Right.
And also, what I didn't like about him, and the reason he didn't like me, is because when I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, back in 76, 77,
right,
he used to make excuses in the dressing room why he wasn't drawing with Gene Anderson. And he used to say, well, it's the presidential election. Yeah, but in the next town, I find out that while Jimmy Carter was being elected president, Ric Flair was having a sellout. You
right,
see what I mean? And he used to knock Ric Flair behind his back and kiss his ass to his face.
Mm.
So, and he says, well, Ric Flair's an entertainer. We are getting over. I said, well, how do you get over with an empty chair? Well, that's why he hated my guts, because I made the boys laugh at his expense.
Right.
I said, while you're getting over, I only make $40 underneath, where I make $200 and more when I'm underneath of Ric Flair.
Right.
See what I mean? So I took up for Ric Flair, and that's one of the reasons he hated me. There were other reasons, too. But anyway, I miss Elizabeth. I miss... did you know the toxicology report with Mr. Perfect?
If all I heard, and you can probably correct me on this, was that it was cocaine, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it was acute cocaine toxicology, whatever. He was on a binge. I promise you that when he was with me, he never did such a thing. I was shocked, because Vince McMahon had drug testing, and everybody was trying to pass those tests. Mm. And so Vince cured everybody from their drug problem with his testing, and it does work. You know, Curt Hennig was getting a great break. He deserved the break, of course. He's one of the most excellent wrestlers ever walk down that aisle.
Right. He's one of the best athletes I've seen, too. What was the steroid testing like, if I can just throw that question in?
Oh, it was just a basic urine test, and they know everything about you. Yeah.
Okay.
My urine was very valuable. No, I'm just kidding.
What does that mean, if I can ask?
Well, people wanted to buy my urine because they knew I didn't, it was obviously by my body that I never touched a steroid, because I didn't have any muscles either.
Okay, well, the last name we have for you, and then we can let you go. We thank you so much for spending this much time with us, by the way. The last name I have for you is Vince McMahon.
Well, like I said, I don't bite the hand that feeds me. I worked for Bill Watts, who was also an excellent promoter. And he used to say, if you don't like it, buy your own territory. Well, that's what I have to say for anybody that knocks Vince McMahon or any successful person. Bill Watts was incredibly successful. You know that, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
and he's still successful.
Yep.
And it is an excellent person. Vince McMahon is the same as Bill Watts, except multiplied by 1,000,000.
Right, absolutely.
He's got, see, and he doesn't, and for example, like the whole family, they don't, like Shane McMahon doesn't have to get off his couch for the rest of his life. And I saw him fall off some ladder and land on the back of his neck after dropping, did you see that?
Yeah, he jumped off the balcony too. I mean, he's done a lot of crazy bumps. So.
And you know something?
If I had that much money, I wouldn't be doing that.
Well, the thing is, if I needed a meal, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
I mean, but at least let me take off my hat to these people that are better than me.
Sure.
These are great people. I'm a pussy compared to them. So are you. I didn't jump off the balcony. Then again. But let me say this in our own defense, You can have guts or you can have brains. I don't think you can have both. I choose brains. The only thing is, unless he's that coordinated that he knows how to do it, which evidently he must be. Right. I know he's a very athletic young man, and I guess he's not young anymore. But I remember when he was a boy, when he was just hanging around.
Right.
And anyway, to throw your body caution to the winds like that, you do have to take off your hat.
Absolutely.
And anyway, I'm about Vince McMahon, I am nothing but thankful for, and you know what he just did for me? And thanks to Keith Elliott Greenberg and Jeremy Brown, if you check out this month's issue of Raw magazine with Stone Cold Steve Austin on the cover,
yes, sir.
I'm on the second page of that thing. And they're talking all about my book, and that's going to create sincere awareness of wrestling fans all over the world.
Yes, sir.
Because that's the #1 wrestling magazine in the world today.
Yep.
And, I can't draw any more money for Vince McMahon. I mean, my career is over. I think it was excellent of whoever didn't veto that, and thanks for the people who caused it. Thanks for the people that didn't kibosh it.
Absolutely, and that's why I asked, because I know you were in the magazine. That's why I asked about the action figure, and hopefully that will happen for you too. Even though obviously it's not your major concern, but it would be a nice little.
Well, I don't care about it as much anymore since my daughter's grown up.
Right.
But I thought, when she was just a toddler, I thought it would have been great to. So one time I took a Tito Santana doll. And I put a little mustache on it, what I mean? So I gave it to her as a daddy doll, and she spotted it as a phony. She was always too bright. I underestimated her again.
Absolutely. Well, again, it's Limericks from the Heart and Lungs, and it's available.
And Wrestling with Rhyme on Amazon.com. Collect them both. And weren't we supposed to... I'm going to be in New Jersey coming up May 14th to honor the Valiant brothers.
Yes, sir. And that's going to be, I just found out today that also added to that show will be Brutus Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Oh, that's great because Luscious Johnny V managed both of those guys as the Dream Team.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to be the MC of the event. And
it's going to be a Q&A session, is that correct?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be conducting Q&As. Right. And, it's going to be excellent. And may I say that you were not rude. You were excellent. And thank you for... of all the interviews I've ever done, yours was by far the most recent. Okay, let me end with a poem, and I'll prove to you that that the genius was not a gimmick, that it was real.
Sure, let me say this real quick. If you want to find out more information about that upcoming event, please check out WrestlingThenAndNow.com.
Excellent, yes.
Okay.
Alan Ginsberg.
Evan Ginsberg, yes,
Evan
sir.
Ginsberg, I knew that. I was testing you. Give me a topic, I'll give you a poem.
Music?
Okay, music. 'Twas battered and worn, and the auctioneer thought it scarcely worth its time to waste much time with the old violin, but he held it up with a smile. What am I bidding, good folks, he cried. Who'll start the bidding for me? $1 and two, only two, $2, and who'll make it three? $3 once, $3 twice, going for three, but no. From the back of the room, the gray-haired man came forward and picked up the bow. Then wiping the dust from the old violin and tightening up the strings, he played a melody pure and sweet as the caroling angels sing. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, said, "What am I bid for this old violin?" And he held it up with a bow. $1,000 and who make it two? 2,000 and who make it three? 3,000 once, 3,000 twice, and going and gone, cried he. The people cheered, but some of them cried, "We do not quite understand. What changed its worth?" Swift came the reply, "The touch of the master's hand." And many a man with his life out of tune and battered and scarred with sin is auctioned cheap to the thoughtless crowd, much like that old violin. A mess of pottage, a glass of wine, a game, and he travels on. He's going once, he's going twice, he's going and almost gone. But the master comes, and the foolish crowd never can quite understand the worth of one soul and the change that's wrought by the touch of the master's hand. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Stay tuned.
I didn't write that, of course, but and I don't think plagiarism is a joke.
Okay.
But I can guarantee you that any time you've ever heard me do a poem where I didn't say that I didn't write it, it's because I wrote it.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for your time. We really can't thank you enough, and we do appreciate it. And we wish you nothing but the best in your future.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more from the Interactive Interview.